Why can't you afford land? These newcomers coming in here, I can't compete with these land prices going up. Had a couple comments on, why land has gotten higher, farms have gotten higher. The one glove, Duncan Smith in the sticks, proving that you don't have to edit to get people to watch. Now, stay with me. Stay with me. So my parents, I had a comment on a video that said we don't want newcomers to the Ozarks. My shop's a little cleaner than it looks, and we don't stop it. We don't want newcomers to the Ozarks. Well, I've had that same sentiment in real estate over the last 7-8 years from friends, maybe even some family. But what's interesting is my parents moved to the Ozarks in the mid-60s, and my dad had my mom and dad met at a rodeo. Dad wanted to be a cattleman, and so they met in Alaska. And then my other set of grandparents, one set in Alaska, one set was in Colorado. So they actually looked at farms in Canada. They, in between, halfway between Alaska and Colorado. And then my dad had done some military service and got his basic training at Fort Leonard Wood in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, St. Roberts. And he had hunted and fished here in his youth in basic training with some locals and actually the Walker family. So he knew about this. Look at that, lighting's out. He knew about this area. He knew about the plentiful water, game, conservative values. He actually had an uncle here that had a shop here in Mountain Grove. So when they came here and bought this old McGowan farm, it was 400 acres. So I say it was $40 an acre. My brother-in-law says it's $50 an acre. What's $10? Whenever you're talking 400 acres, $4,000. So anyway, that comment said, we don't want newcomers. And I've had established landowners that, look, it's not 1970 anymore. My dad came in here by the grace of God. He got this place bought. He had an outside income. They moved in a single wide trailer with my sister. And they had a milk cow, and Dad tells the story of he was at the Mountain Grove sale barn, and I believe Harley Van Shannon's dad, now I may be wrong, but I'm naming names, pointed at my dad in the ring and said, "You need these cows." And my dad said, "I don't have the money." And I believe it was either Harley Van or his dad said, "Let's not worry about that." So apparently he financed them, but my dad got that group of beef cattle and they started living the dream, and they didn't have anything when they came here, and they left with most of it. Just kidding. My dad and his family generationally could put it together. Now, my grandpa had a drinking problem on the Smith side, and I warned my kids about that, but he still was able to accumulate, and he was a giver. It's a long, drawn-out story nobody cares about, but he left a farm that he developed to my grandma, and she held that together. The women hold things together. I'm puppy dog trailing on you. The reason locals don't like newcomers, if that's a problem, most neighbors that I know of are very giving to people coming into the area. But if there is any animosity, they bought farms for $500, and now that they're $3,500, $4,500 per acre, they paid $500 per acre, and now they're up to $4,500 per acre. That was in their youth. Now they're an old man. They're part of the Muppets, the two old men that sit in the balcony. Yeah, that's most of me and a friend of mine. So they're caught in the past where they've seen this land elevate. Their age has elevated. Their work capacity has diminished. to a certain extent, even with the tools that we have to make you more productive in your older age. And they just, this is my personal opinion, they are, the glory days are, large ranches, large families, which I'm not even sure this actually existed, but in their mind. So anyway, they're a little bit of animosity that the prices have came up. And here's the deal: you ask them what they want for their farm. I've got one good friend, and he's a heck of a guy. And he goes, "Smith, quit splitting up these farms." And I said, "What? And quit selling them to out of state people." And so I just told him, I said, "Look, here's the deal: when you go to sell your farm, just sell it to the locals, and they will pick your carcass clean, because they're not going to give you market price, because they can't. On a commodity level, it just won't pencil out. Owning land, I had a guy tell me 30 years ago, owning land is always out of reach. It's always top shelf. You are going to stretch yourself to buy land. And I personally think most people don't want to stretch themselves and get out there, because when you start stretching, I tell folks, when you expand, when a honeybee colony expands, they've grown too much in their colony, so they send out, they develop another queen, and they send it out. They're their most vulnerable is whenever that infancy of reaching out to a new destination, to a new home. And it's scary times, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. We're hung up on this failure deal, and I get it. I am too. You don't want to lose what you've struggled to accumulate. And I feel like the Ozarks is in transition. We went from feeder pigs to the dairy industry and beef cattle production, which we're still strong. I listened to a podcast, Corbett Wall. His claim is, and I haven't verified this, but his claim is there's more baby calves born in a 150-mile radius of Joplin, Missouri than anywhere in the world. Why is that? Because of our grass growing potential, our water, our infrastructure, our heritage. We are number 3 in cow-calf. We battle it out with Oklahoma every year. Texas is number 1 just because they're so stinking big. They ain't nothing down. I didn't leave anything in Texas. It's hot and dry, and if you want to eat sand and cockleburrs, have yourself a set of cows in Texas. Don't be angry. But so Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri are the top 3 in cow-calf numbers. So, newcomers bring market price and bring a different perspective. The only folks that I've seen make it in the dairy industry are new blood, new families, new ideas, and they weren't entitled. I was guilty of generational dairy, and I felt like I was owed, possibly. Now, I didn't put in the work in the right places. Now, looking back, I'd hate to go back and prove myself right. Could I do it? Probably, but I would have to ask why. So anyway, at the end of the day, the commodity prices for calves, for hay, everything we produce on the farm is way below production cost. And so these generational farmers, unless, they're paid out and they sell 100 calves at $2,000 a piece, and they have 200,000, they do that 5 years in a row, that's $1 million, and they buy $1 million farm. That is going on. That is happening. But the truth of the matter is, it's people in their 50s and 60s who have had the dream of having a homestead, having some land. They built a huge financial paper money account, and they're transferring that to the Ozarks. And when they do that, they're coming in and paying, They don't care what it costs. They're 60. They're going to die pretty quick. You know, their kids are set. They don't care what it costs. If it's pretty and they like it, they're going to buy it. And we're going to sell it to them more than likely if it's for sale, unless it's priceless. So anyway, that's what maybe the locals are facing, is that their products that they sell aren't really keeping up with what land purchases, you know, what they need to be in order to go and just keep expanding. And I've asked myself, how much is enough? You know, I truly believe in order to help somebody, you have to have some money in your bank account. And I'm not a prosperity preacher, but I do know that a broke person cannot instill, at that stage, cannot financially. Now, if you want advice, I would ask somebody who's went broke in the industry or whatever they're doing. And I'm not discounting broke, but you can't help somebody unless you have the tools in your toolbox to either loan out or give away, and really feel like, you know, that's back to mindset. Like if it doesn't come back, it don't matter. God's going to refill my toolbox. So, I'm rambling on. It's 11 minutes and 31 seconds. At the end of the day, South Central Missouri, when people come here, they stir the economy because they usually need a road built. They usually need a barn built. They need a well drilled. They maybe need a house built. And I see it as a wealth transfer from the urban centers back into the rural settings. When you look at the deeds of this ranch, Spring Hill Ranch, it's a bunch of 40-acre tracts, and you see that yucca plant everywhere. There's a spring. There was a house or a cabin. Sometimes you see the remains of a hand-dug well, and you know they were 40-acre tracts. And I feel like everything is retro, like we're gonna go back to 40-acre tracts, 20-acre tracts. As in my mindset, the urban model will not work, and generationally, it just, I really feel like life is way too easy, is instant. Entertainment is too easy and instant in that urban setting. Not saying that we're not guilty on the farm, but I'm thinking we're closer to God's design here on the farm than you are in a suburb. So, anyway, if you made it this far, like and subscribe. Duncan Smith in the sticks. Like and subscribe, because Hollywood is gone. And YouTube and these videos are the new entertainment and the new how-to. I believe everything, if you need something, look on your phone. Everything is changing. If you want to change your family's direction, get up early, write down your what you're thankful for, what your short, medium, and long-term goals are. Write it down. Subconsciously, God gave us this mind, the mind of Christ, and he gave us a subconscious mind that is always, we're focused, and the subconscious mind is always processing. And I really feel like that has been a lot of my success, reading the Word, writing down, Habakkuk 2:2, I believe. I'm quoting scripture. Write the vision down where you can carry it on a tablet. And I think that holds true today. 3% of people write down their goals and try to implement that vision. And if you're not in that 3%, don't cuss them. Okay. Hey, be blessed. A lot of rambling. At the end of the day, what is land worth? If it's for sale, what somebody will give you for it. Anyway, be blessed. Proof again. Maybe you don't have to edit. Have a good day. Be blessed.